We are pleased to be joined now by Zachary Yaksich. He is the president and executive director of Alana's Foundation, which is an organization that is helping to spread the word about why you need to get yourself protected from the flu each and every year. We're pleased to be joined now, of course, by Zach Yaksich on the Oakland County Megacast. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Appreciate having you on. How are you, and how's everybody with Alana's Foundation doing?
Oh, good. We're busy. We're getting ready. As you said, the season's approaching very fast, and it's going to be a busy season. So we're busy, but we're all things are positive. So,
Zachary, for those that are not familiar with Alana's Foundation, what does your organization do, and what is its background?
The organization was founded in memory of my daughter, Alana, who was 5 years old. When she was 5 years old, in 2003, she passed away due to complications from the flu. And so after that, the tragedy happened, and through the grieving process, at that time I had no idea that people could actually die from the flu. My daughter wasn't vaccinated from the flu because her pediatrician never recommended it. She actually didn't fall within the CDC guidelines. So at that time, I made it a decision to be an advocate for educating people about how dangerous the flu is and how important it is to get a annual flu vaccine so that we could prevent this tragedy from happening to other families. So we do that in various ways. We do that through speaking engagements, such as today. I'm often invited to talk the various radio, TV stations, newspapers, schools, churches, community centers, and so forth. And then, most importantly, we try to make the vaccine convenient and affordable for people to receive. So we set up clinics around the tri-state area, again, in schools, churches, community centers, and so forth, so that it's convenient for people to get to. And we provide funding for those who don't have insurance that would otherwise pay for it, so that we try to remove all the barriers or roadblocks from getting the vaccine. So,
our condolences on the loss of your daughter, but what a gift you're giving to the community by honoring her and educating others. Can you talk a little bit about COVID-19, and do you think that's going to overshadow some of the work in your message, or do you think it will help fuel what you are doing?
Actually, ironically, if there is any silver lining with COVID-19, I think it's that it's brought awareness to the need and importance for vaccines, and it's brought to light, I'm sure everybody's heard, especially as of late, people talking about, the flu season coming up and how important it is to get your flu shot this year. So I don't think that it's going to overshadow what we're doing. COVID's a very serious illness, and like I said, it's brought to light the fact that we need a vaccine. Everybody's waiting and clamoring to develop a vaccine for COVID. So it's brought attention to that. It's because it's in the media every day, and the talk is around, hey, the flu season's coming. We have a vaccine for the flu. So go out and get your flu vaccine, prevent yourself from getting the flu, prevent any tragedies that may occur from the flu, and help control our health system so that we don't overwhelm the health system with people entering it who have complications from COVID and the flu. So, like I said, I think if there's any silver lining, it's almost been to help bring light to the need for flu vaccines.
Zachary Yaksich with us. He is the president and executive director of Alana's Foundation with us on the Oakland County Megacast. And Zachary, with the symptoms of COVID-19 so much being similar in many cases to the symptoms of flu, does that make this year's vaccine, getting a vaccine for this year's strain of influenza, that much more important? So people maybe are, if they are going into work and they are feeling, and they maybe do feel those symptoms down the road, that they aren't necessarily taking resources that are being used to test for COVID-19, but rather putting them and at the same time putting themselves in a position where if they think it's COVID-19 and it's not COVID-19 and it's the flu, where they could be in a position of being harmed by the virus. Does that make this even more important this year to get that vaccine?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important every year. As I said in the previous statement, it's more important this year than ever, just so that we don't overwhelm the health system, and to try to actually help get a grasp on actually the effects of COVID, what is COVID and what is actually the flu or other illnesses, minor illnesses. So I think it's important that people get it. And as always, if you're feeling ill, whether you think you have COVID or the flu or not, it's important that we all use some common sense and stay home from work, or whatever activities you may be or social gatherings, so that we don't spread whatever we have, potentially spread it to others.
So I know your organization is ran solely by volunteers. You rely on donations. How has fundraising been for your organization during this time? And if people want to help, how can they help?
Yeah, fundraising is a challenge. You're right. We are 100% volunteer. Our funding is completely on donations. We usually hold one annual fundraiser every year, and it's actually the first week of August. And because of COVID and the restrictions on social gathering, we had to cancel that. So donations and funding are a little bit tight this year. We actually had a virtual fundraiser, if you will, which is basically we sent out a virtual invitation to previous donors and supporters, gave them an update on the foundation, and asked them to think of Alana's foundation when they give to charities this year, which so it is a challenge. It's created some restrictions on them. So hopefully we've gotten some responses, positive responses, and hopefully we can work through this, and get things back to normal where we can fundraise again. But on that note, I will humbly ask your listeners to keep Alana's foundation in mind at your end of year giving as one of your charities of choice. And you can, if you choose to help out, you can simply go to www.alanasfoundation.org, and we have a donate page there, and anything you can give, as little or large, is appreciated.
Zachary Yaksich with us. He's the president and executive director of Alana's Foundation. And Zachary, you mentioned previously in the interview that your organization and its volunteers do a lot of work to advocate for the flu and provide even flu shots in the tri-state area. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues on, and as we're approaching the fall season and the flu season oncoming, what does your organization do at that point to continue to provide those services in the tri-state area and go out to these community centers and go out to these local events and so on and so forth, while also maintaining the safety of the people that you're helping to treat and of those that are volunteering for your organization?
Yeah, it's a very, very, very good question, and we've had to be a little bit creative and flexible, and we continue to be flexible. But most of, in the past, all of the clinics that we've held have been inside of buildings, facilities, schools, churches, and so forth. And now with the COVID restrictions, we are planning on doing drive-through vaccination clinics where you'll pull up in your vehicle, we'll have it organized, and you'll pre-register online. We have online consent forms, and you just pull up, give your name, the nurses will pull up your information and give you your shot right there in the car. So it's we're going to learn a little bit. We think we spent the last couple of weeks trying to think of all the possibilities that we could encounter, and I'm sure that we're going to have to make some changes along the way. But yeah, that's a very good question. They're going to be drive-through.
But one other thing was Alana's Dream Project. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, Alana's Dream Project. My daughters loved rainbows and she loved butterflies, but when she became ill, it was right around, it was in February. So in school, she was doing projects centered around Martin Luther King, and I had a dream. So she always talked about rainbows, and one of the last projects she did was I have a dream that there'd be rainbows all around the world. So um, rainbows are obviously special to anybody that knows Alana, special to our family, and ironically, we see rainbows all the time, or maybe we just notice them more and appreciate them more, but we see them on bright sunny days sometimes. So came up with the idea to try to ask people from around the world, if you see a rainbow, send it in to us. And at some point, I want to try to gather, whether I keep it on the website or put something in print, but just show rainbows and show Alana that there are rainbows around the world, and let her dream come true.
Zachary Yaksich with us, the president and executive director of Alana's Foundation, with us on the Oakland County MegaCast. And Zachary, just another couple minutes with you. As parents are preparing to send their kids back to school, we know that in the West Bloomfield area, the K through 8 education is going to be in person and virtual hybrid, and then 8 and 9 through 12 will be entirely online. But it's even more emphasis now on making sure your kids are immunized for diseases such as the yearly flu as they're heading back into school. What lasting advice or plea do you have to give to parents as they're approaching sending their kids back to school in the fall as the semester begins, with flu season also beginning during the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, I would urge them, one, when you send your kids back, obviously pay attention to all the social, the restrictions, social distancing to help protect against COVID. But like I said before, we can only protect ourselves from COVID by wearing a mask and social distancing and so forth. We can protect ourselves from the flu by simply getting a flu shot. It's not 100% guaranteed, but it is some protection. And the more people that get it, like's been talked about in the media, it creates herd immunity. So this is a year, it's more important than ever to get yourself a flu shot. And there's really not a reason not to get it. So it's at the doctor's offices, it's at the pharmacies. We have clinics set up around the local area here. You can go on our website and find those clinics as well. So I just would encourage you to get your children and the entire family vaccinated. We have the vaccine. Get yourself vaccinated, protect yourselves, and to help protect the community.
Well, Zachary, we thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. Zachary Yaksich from Alana's Foundation with us on the Oakland County MegaCast. He's their president and executive director.